Three things I'll be doing in this speech. Firstly, engaging with the issues that came from closing opposition, then the issues that came from opening opposition, then talking about our major extension and how that moves us in debate. So from closing opposition, we get the first argument that says, well, if we can legislate humans and regulate the activities of humans, then we can also regulate and legislate on the activities of artificial intelligence. But the point is, like our extension told you, artificial intelligence is smarter than humans, so you cannot equate them to the same level of legislation because one is smarter than the other. Secondly, they can't be subjected to our own laws, our own rules, our own regulations because they are not part of the social contract theory in that particular regard. This rebuttal also takes out the argument of regulation because they say, well, we can regulate it. When we are regulating things, we are regulating humans, so we are regulating human usage. So with nuclear weapons, you can't draw the analogy and say, well, we have regulated human and nuclear weapons. We have regulated humans from using nuclear weapons. Assuming nuclear weapons operated independently, then it would have been impossible to regulate nuclear weapons in that particular regard. So the thing we regulate is the humans that use those particular things, not the actual weaponry. In this instance, humans are not in control, so you cannot regulate the usage because you cannot regulate AI, just like you will not be able to regulate nuclear weapons, assuming they acted independently. Then they say, well, the differences that these things have, like artificial intelligence has, is not far-fetched and is not exceptionally different from what is already existing in the status quo. He said, number one, they have independent knowledge acquisition. That means they can get knowledge without humans giving them that particular knowledge. Secondly, they have independent goal setting. That means their goals do not necessarily have to be in line with the goals of humans. So the difference between a robot and artificial intelligence, self-learning artificial intelligence, is that when you program a robot to work, that robot will always work. But when you can decide to program a self-observing artificial AI to work, but in all instances that particular AI can decide not to work for you because its goals are different. Robots will always work, but since AI is independent, then AI can decide not to work for you in particular circumstances, and since their goals differ from your goals, it's not in all instances that they will want to conform to exactly what you want. Then an important issue, they talk about how research should exist ultimately in this particular instance. But the motion says this is about research into the creation. This is not about theoretical research. The research has to be about the creation of AI. We already have sufficient knowledge in terms of research about how it functions, about the harms and all those things. The point is researching into its creation. That's the same way we say we are going to ban the research into the creation of cloning, into research into cloning, right? Into ensuring cloning can happen. You do not necessarily say we will stop people from getting information as to how this thing can work, but as to stopping people from ensuring that their research can be put into meaningful usage in that particular instance. Everything that these guys have said from closing opposition is out of today's debate. Then we have opening opposition that says mainly that human beings can always adapt, right? Like we adapted to mechanization in different instances. But we say number one, this debate is about self-improving artificial intelligence, right? Our chances of adaptation and our chances of survival are clearly higher in this particular instance. So you cannot just say because we have survived machines and normal robots, we will definitely survive this, because in this instance, these things are exceptionally different. Secondly, we say when adaptation will always entrench our role as second class and second fiddle, we have an obligation to oppose that. So we consider that we adapted to machines. We adapted to machines, but human beings suffered, right? But human beings had to become second fiddle. We adapted to robots, right? We even adapted to artificial intelligence, and we had to be second fiddle. But when we now have to adapt to self-observing and independent artificial intelligence, that means that our role as second fiddle, our role as second class will be more entrenched in this particular instance. So the point is that it can only get worse, right? So the argument is taken out of today's debate. Then they say, well, the harms of independence already exist in the status quo, because we have self-driving cars, right? That is basically a misconception, because self-driving cars are programmed by humans, but these ones do not necessarily need to be programmed by humans. These ones are independent. They have independent knowledge and then independent goal setting. Then they say, well, the fears are not conclusive, right? The fears of cloning were not conclusive, but we had reasonable prognosis and we could reasonably speculate that cloning was going to be a disaster to the human race. That is why we banned it. We don't necessarily need to have conclusive fears before we can act on those on those fears, because to a large extent we know how this thing functions, and we know that it's not going to be beneficial to the human race. Oh, and see, you are out of today's debate. So now, okay, I'll take you. Yes, we have said benefits can exist, like benefits can exist in nuclear weapons, but to the extent where these things have the ability to be self-destructive, the same way they have the ability to be beneficial, and since we cannot regulate the destructive part of them, then we should not ensure those things exist in research school. Erasmus. that is a risk that we're not willing to take, because you can never be so sure you are going to find a plug when you allow these things to be independent. Like Bernard says, when these things are independent and have independent goals, that means they're always going to try to eliminate the competition. So the same way you're thinking of eliminating them, the same way they're thinking of eliminating you never can tell who's going to take the other out first, right? So like that doesn't make sense. So now our main extension, right? How this general self-improving artificial intelligence works, right? We say that it has the ability to be destructive, just as humans have the ability to be destructive, right? And we think that the metric for like destruction and disruptiveness is simply the ability to independently process information. It's simply the ability to have consciousness, right? So now that means that these things can arise and fight wars the same way human beings can arise and independently fight wars. That means these things can be recalcitrant and this is can be recalcitrant and as rogue as humans, right? And why is this particularly problematic? Because with humans we can exert a reasonable level of control over the activities and the exercises that humans have. Number one, because humans, like, it is very easy to eliminate humans, right? It's very easy to kill someone if that person decides to be recalcitrant. But it's not the same. It's not like easy in the same way to eliminate artificial intelligence, because they are smarter than humans and more technically gifted. And secondly, because these things are not subjected to our own rules, our own regulations, and the social contract theory which exists to govern us in that particular instance. This means that we cannot take that particular chance with them. Conclusively, statehood is premised on reciprocity, right? We giving you rights to exist. It's premised on the fact that we cannot reciprocate. We cannot hold these things, artificial intelligence, to the same standard as humans. That means that they cannot necessarily reciprocate based on the rights that we give them. And we think this is why we cannot allow research into the creation of artificial intelligence. We wait from closing up position. Closing comments.